Alright, guys, we are kicking this off. I just gotta test this real quick, make sure that everything's running smoothly before I get into what we're gonna get into. But as usual, we're gonna talk about stuff that most people don't have the balls to talk about. So once I figure this out and make sure the audio is going, we'll get right into what I want to talk about. This broadcast might go a little bit longer than an hour because some things you just can't rush. Some things just have to be talked through. And you know what I mean? You just can't be looking at the clock. You just got to let it run its course. And that's what I'll try to do. But who knows? Maybe we'll get through it quicker than I expect. But let me just make sure the sound is working. Testing, 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 testing. Testing, 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 testing. We might have to restart if the sound isn't working. Testing, testing. It looks like the sound isn't working. Testing, testing. Testing, testing. Alright, what's going on with this? Bear with me, guys. If the sound isn't working, I'll have to restart. I don't know what's going on. Testing, testing, testing. Okay, we're good. All systems go. I think this other phone is acting up. It's a little delayed. I think that's what it is. Oh, okay. I know what's going on. I know what's going on. All right. So let's get into it, guys. So today we're going to be talking about 9/11. All right. As long as YouTube doesn't kick us off, right? We're going to be talking about 9/11. We are also going to be exposing the moon landing as a hoax, and it's going to come from the horse's mouth. So it's not going to be my opinion. It's not going to be what I believe. It's not going to be what I feel. This is going to come out from the horse's mouth. So if you still want to believe that the moon landing happened, that's on you. And I can't help you there. But I can bring you the evidence, and you can take the evidence and do as you please with it. So we're going to prove that was a lie. We're also going to prove that 9/11 was also a lie. We all think it was Osama bin Laden. I'm not saying Osama bin Laden was a good guy, because Osama obviously, he hated America for his own reasons, but it had nothing to do with 9/11. That was just the scapegoat. We needed a scapegoat. And I don't want to say who it is, but I'll give you an idea. It starts with an I. And but other than that, we're gonna step by step. Actually, I have a video that will step by step. We'll have a guy that breaks down exactly what happened. So it's gonna be some videos and some of me talking. But the 9/11 stuff, like, obviously I was very young at the time, so a lot of that 9/11 stuff is going to be coming out of people that were there, or in the building, and or associated very closely. So you're going to get the truth from people that want to find the truth. It's not going to be people that are getting an interest, like money wise, getting paid off, people that don't want to get in trouble. These are people that want the truth out there, just like you and I. So basically what I'm saying is anything I bring to you are from people that want to get the truth. It's not going to be misinformation or something to prove my point. No, my point is irrelevant. It's about the point, and the point is the truth. And also, we're going to prove today that your religion that you're in was not summoned by our great God. It was summoned by your master, but in this case we'll call it the man. Every religion under the sun was made by a man. It wasn't made by God. In fact, You can't find any religion under the sun in the Bible. There's not one religion that we know of outside in the world that is in the Bible. There's no religion in the Bible. So basically, what I'm saying is every religion is a made up fairy tale by some man that wanted profit, power, control, etc. You know the whole game. But God never told us to be in a religion. And I'm going to prove this to you guys systematically. And I'm going to prove to you that none of us are supposed to be in a religion. But there's something that we're supposed to be. And also, I'm going to prove to you that not everyone goes to heaven. There's certain criteria. Our God is not that easy. There's a standard that you have to follow. I'm not saying it's simple, but there is a standard. So this idea that when you die and you go to heaven, no. First of all, when you die, you go to the grave. There is no such thing as going to heaven. In fact, the Bible says there is no heaven right now. So that heaven idea was made by man. God never said you're going to heaven. So that's completely just false and made up. The dead knows of nothing. That's what it says in the Bible about the dead. And so when you die, you know of nothing. There is nothingness. You get eaten by the worms, the earth engulfs you, and that's it. There is no heaven. You guys got to understand that. But I will prove to you when the day comes, the judgment day comes, that will be the day when God, you'll meet the God. Everyone will have a meeting with our God. Whether you're good, bad, whether you lived thousands of years ago, we're all going to have a day of judgment with our God. And you're either going to go to the new heaven that he's going to make, or you're going to hell. That's how that goes. So this whole idea that, oh, my nanny died last year, she's in heaven right now. No, she's not. I don't want to be an asshole, but that's just the truth. We're about telling the truth here. Anyone that has died is just in the grave. That's it. No one's in heaven yet. There's no such thing as heaven at this moment. As well as hell. There's no hell at this moment either. None of that exists yet. But it will be coming, believe me, and I will prove it to you. But before we get to any of that, let's talk about the moon landing. And first of all, let's see it happen first. And then I want you guys to listen to one of the men that were on the ship. Notice I have that in quotations. The ship that looks like some type of toy, like the Van Halen wall they say we can't get through. So how does a ship, you see how slowly it's moving and how like dinky it's made? How does a ship like that get through the Van Halen belt? Really known as the firmament, which we proved a few streams ago that you can't get through the firmament. So if you can't get through the firmament, how did we land on the moon, I ask you? Because we've shot rockets up. We've videotaped it thousands of times. Rockets, nothing gets through the atmosphere because there is an invisible force field stopping us from getting outside, because there is no outer space, guys. There's only water above us. That's what everybody has to understand. It says it in the Bible. There is water above us, okay? And it's probably frozen, which is why it's so hard to break through that atmosphere, because it's probably just frozen water, all right? And that's all we know of. Anything else was just a made-up story by a man. Oh, the solar system. Oh, the galaxies. Oh, it's just all made up. And the funny thing is they can't prove any of it. They can't. Why don't we have any rocks or any presence of any other planets in our hand? Why is there no flag on the moon? If we landed on the moon, why don't we have a flag that we stuck in there that we can see from Earth? Why? There's just a lot of questions. Why don't we have a base over there? Because we never went there. So it's just, people just got to understand, a lot of the things that were taught to us were for our protection. Really, they just don't want millions of people exploring the earth and finding out that we were all lied to and that there is something more to this. Antarctica, there was a 19-year-old kid that flew to Antarctica and he got captured. I might have saved that video, but the point is, this kid got his pilot license at 19, and the first thing he did was fly to Antarctica, and they brought him down, and he hasn't been found since, guys. So what does that tell you? It tells me that the brother found something. I don't know what he found, but he found something. I was just checking to see if I saw the video here, but It might be this one. You see how it's not showing right here? It might be that one. Because he found... Oh, no, here it is. Here it is. Let's watch this video real quickly, and then we'll come back to what I was talking about with the moon landing. Look at this.
They're never going to see him again. Like, when I say never, never. We ain't going to never so much as see a social media post from this kid. Ever again. And all he did was something that, when you think about it, all he did was something that an average 19-year-old who just got their fucking pilot license would do. It's no different than when kids first get their driver's license. They go driving and doing shit they ain't got no business doing. He got his fucking pilot license and was doing shit he ain't had no business doing. And he's detained. Who owns Antarctica? That's my only question. And what's so, outside of what they tell us, what's so bad about a motherfucker going to see that? Because you can go to Antarctica on, you can take the boats to get there. But when it comes to flying...
And the thing about Antarctica, if you look on the old world maps, there is life forms there. It's not covered in ice, guys. So, and keep in mind, guys, we can make ice. Like, as we can make rain. We can make anything we want nowadays. So, what my theory is, I think they're covering something up. I think they made artificial ice and snow and covered up civilizations and evidence to show us that there was other life forms, or not even life forms, just another civilization more advanced than us. Or they're just something that they're covering up over there that this kid may have found. They may have covered it up for miles and miles and miles, but he flew past those miles and found it. That's what I'm thinking, guys. Because there's been many theories about this. That, it's the huge walls you got to get over. There's so many different theories. Like, I'm thinking this kid found something, and they're trying to shake him down to see what he knows. And then they probably killed him, most likely. Because no one's heard from this kid.
They shut off all that shit down. So he was able to successfully fly there, land there, get arrested and detained. What military... First of all, if we can't fly there, how the fuck is the military based there?
And which military of what country detained him? Was it... Because think about it, guys. There are several countries that have a... I think it's every country has a treaty for not allowing people to explore there. So the next question is, which country detained him? Because most likely the chances of it being American is very slim. So if it wasn't an American country that detained him, which country was it? And what did they do to him? That's what you got to ask yourself. And if they could do it to him, they could do it to any of us. Just for finding some shit that's just there, that they don't want us to know about. But we have the right to know. Because guess what? They're our servants. We pay them. Our tax dollars pay them to guard whatever they're guarding. So how can they kill us for finding something that we pay them to guard, apparently? But we don't even know what they're guarding. So you got to ask yourself, what is going on with this picture? Like, no one's safe. And the crazy part is they serve us and they think they can do this to us just for finding out what's going on where we live. Like, we live on Earth. We deserve to know what's going on, is all I'm saying. We deserve to know what's going on the planet we live on and pay for. That's all I'm saying.
What are they doing there? We can't go there. What are they doing there? Can somebody, anybody on that military base stitch, comment, let me know something? What y'all gonna say? Y'all got access to social media? Not in today's age. That don't work, bucko. Long story short, we're never gonna see him again because he 9 times out of 10 saw some shit he was not supposed to see.
Yep. And we don't know which country got him. Now look at this moon landing video. And this is from apparently 1969, where they barely had TVs working back then, guys. Barely. So they were able to film and project in real time the moon landing in 1969 is what we're telling us, but we barely had any real good calculators or any type of projection. Is that what we're saying, guys? You're believing it? Come on, guys. At this point, they're just testing how stupid we are and what we'll believe. And they always told us, do not believe what you see on TV. So why would you hold the moon landing on TV if you wanted us to believe it, but you told us not to believe what we see on TV? You see what I mean there? See, it just doesn't make sense. On one hand, you're telling us to watch something that's exclusive, right? Something that must be seen, breaking history, right? But on the other hand, you're saying don't believe what you see on this projection, right? So you see what happens there? But everyone believes what they see on TV, man, and it's sad, but because they told us when the product came out not to believe it. It's just I don't get it. I don't get it, guys. But let's watch this.
100 feet, 3.5 down. Forward. 5%. 75. 75 feet.
Look at it. That's fake, guys. That's not real fire. Look at that. That is not fake. You see how it's hitting the ground there? That's not real at all. It's animations.
Down 2.5.
Guys, that whole backdrop is a green screen. This is basically Star Wars, guys. Like, how would you be able to land on an atmosphere like that, right? And then the moon, and you see the Earth on the horizon, and just nothing else. Like, you're just in one spot, but you can see the whole moon, and just the Earth is right there on the flat horizon. It just doesn't make sense. None of it. Wouldn't the Earth be on a different angle, and wouldn't you be much smaller appearing? It just doesn't make sense, guys. It looks like a movie set. Look at that. It looks like a toy. How did something like that? Think about this, guys. We shoot these muchly bigger and stern rockets through, right? And we try to get it through the firmament. And we can never do it, right? With these huge, immaculate, high-tech, great rockets, right? And just can't do it. But you're telling me this dinky little, Fisher-Price little toy thing here made it through the atmosphere and the Van Halen belt? And I quote, really, the firmament? You're really telling me that, guys? And look at the ground, guys. Doesn't that rock look exactly like that picture I showed you in Canada? We know they're in Canada right now. We already revealed that a few streams ago. So I don't know how people believe this. They're literally in Canada right now, filming.
Right shadow. 4 forward. 4 forward. Just into the right a little. 6. Down a half. 30 seconds forward. Just. Right. Contact right. Okay, engine stop. APA at a descent. Host control both autos. Descent engine command override off. Engine arm on. 113 is in.
Man on the moon.
We copy you down, Eagle. Houston,
Oh, gee.
Tranquility Base here. The Eagle has landed. Roger 20.
Lying.
We copy you on the ground.
All lies.
Guys about to turn blue. We're breaking again. Thanks a lot.
Lies. Look at that ground. That's in Canada. Look at this liar. He knows it's fake. Look at them. They all know it's fake. Think about it, guys. If we really landed on the moon, they all would be standing up like ecstatic on their feet, like giving each other high fives. They know this is fake. They have to show like they're excited. Now, it should all make sense to you now. Now that you know that they know it's fake, their reaction should make sense now. Because if it really were true that they did this and were able to get through the firmament, which has never and will never happen, and they landed on the moon and this actually happened, they were able to film it back to us in real time, which is obviously a lie. Come on, guys. There is no way. They practiced this probably thousands of times. It's just like the NFL breakdowns we do together. They probably practiced this, cut, action. No, that wasn't good enough. No, say this, say that, right? They probably did it thousands of times until they got the perfect one they wanted. and then they saved it, right? And then they filmed it on TV in one of the time slots. I bet you, guys, I bet you the moon landing ended right on time for the next show to start, right? Wouldn't that be convenient? Oh, we landed on the moon in an hour. Now the next show can start right after, right? Come on, guys. You can't be that gullible to believe that. This is a TV show. Nothing more, nothing less.
I'm speechless. I'm just trying to hold on to my breath. That is really something. Hey, move touchdown. Kind of nice to be aboard on this one, isn't it?
Look at this thing.
You know,
This thing looks like it's already about to break down. It looks like a hoopty. Like, how does something like this get to outer space? How could anyone believe that something like this would be in outer space? No, they just needed something that could sit there and be stationary so that it can look like a show, a spectacle. This is what this is. Nothing more or less.
What this guy Armstrong or Aldrin would say, he stepped foot on the moon, which comes a little bit later now.
It comes a little bit later now. In other words, we have to press cut and then start the next scene after they get out when we practice that scene. They've practiced this in scenes, guys. Once they got the landing down, then they practiced getting out of it, then the dune buggy. And might ask you, where did the dune buggy fit, huh? Where did that dune buggy come from? Because that car, is at least half the size of that ship. And they didn't show them coming down and landing with it. So where did it come from, guys? I ask you. A dune buggy? And also, let me ask you this. How is it that the camera crew was already on the ground as you're landing? So no Americans or no one around the world is able to figure out how that's possible? How could the camera crew be landing before you do? So really the camera crew should get the credit, not you, right? So it just all doesn't make sense. This was a movie, guys. Like, the moon landing never happened, and it never will happen because we can't leave the firmament. Right now I'm looking at the sky right now, and I'm just looking at the water that's up there because that's all that's up there. There's nothing more than water up there. Everything else is below the water. That's what you got to understand. Like, those planets, they're probably even between the firmament. They're probably inside the firmament. That's why we can't get to them. They're in the firmament trapped, but they're free moving. And that's what people don't understand. The way God made this planet, man, he made it so we could prove ourselves on Earth. He doesn't want us traveling to other galaxies, figuring out. No, that's not what we're here for. We're here to see if we're living holy enough to come back with him after he destroys the Earth. Because there's going to be a day where he destroys the Earth. And it's going to come down to who's going with him or who's going with the devil. That's what it comes down to. Now, let me show you from their mouth what really happened. You don't have to hear it from me because I know what happened. But this guy right here, what is it, Buzz Aldrin? He was on this ship.
I remember my parents waking me up, and we went down and we watched you guys land on the moon,
No, you didn't.
What?
Because there wasn't any television. There wasn't anybody taking a picture. You watched animation.
See, he said there wasn't any television. So they didn't even have TV back then. So there was no television. There was no one taking pictures. So how could there have been them? That's basically what he said. Listen to this again. Listen to this again.
Waking me up, and we went down and we watched you guys land on the moon,
No, you didn't.
What?
Because there wasn't any television. There wasn't anybody taking a picture. You watched animation. So you associated what you saw with.
I have very hazy memories.
I know.
Well, what we saw was we all were gathered around the old curved top radio and listened.
Talking about how many feet we're going to the left and right, and then I said
That was all
"That
BS.
right, engine stop.
It was
A few other
exciting.
things, and then Neil said, "Houston, Tranquility Base. The Eagle has landed."
That's just
Man, how about that?
that was very exciting.
Not a bad line.
Yeah.
And that's all it was. See, not a bad line, he said, guys. Because it's an act. It's all a show. It's a spectacle. And then look at this dumbass comment. This is the same dude who punched someone because he was saying he's a liar.
Went down and we watched.
Because this is something, calling him a liar. Why? Because it didn't fit what you wanted to believe. And that's the thing. People believe what they want to believe. Even if it's the truth, some people are just like, no, I don't want that to be the truth. I want this to be the truth. Like, how does it affect you if they landed on the moon or not? It's just like, what does it have to do with you? Like, why do you care so much if they landed on the moon? What is that doing for your life? Wouldn't you want to just know the truth of it all? It's like, come on, guys. It's the guy that was there. Why would he lie? Why? Why? It puts him in danger, if anything. Why would the guy that was there supposedly lie about it? Saying that, no, it didn't really happen, man. Because he doesn't feel right. He has a conscience. He feels guilty. That's what you don't understand. You only do this if you feel guilty. You don't want to keep lying to people. Now the liars want to keep this going. So what do? They send Katy Perry up to space, right? Katy Perry, right? And then they come down with their boom crash landing, like as if anyone would survive that. Like, it's all a show. And then they bring the newscasting over to open the door. Not even anyone from NASA, right? Like, why would the news anchor guy open the door? Like, what does he have to do with any of this? Wouldn't someone there that is part of the project be opening the door to make sure no one's dead? But then they're opening the door for the guy, so it's like, ugh. Like, all of it, man. If you believe that Katy Perry went to outer space, there is no helping you at all. And there's a video, it's kind of a longer video. It's the 9/11 one where this guy breaks down exactly what happened step by step. But before we do that, I want to talk to you guys about these man-made religions. Because every religion under the sun, any religion you can think of, Catholicism, which is being a Catholic, right? Pentecostal, Jehovah's Witness, Hebrew, right? Lutheran, Muslim, Judaism, like any religion you can think of. If you can find a date on when it started, it was started by a man. It was not started by God. And in fact, none of these religions at all, name a religion, Mormon, any religion you can think of, none of them are in the Bible, not one. So if it's not in the Bible, how could it be from God? That's my question. What men did is they took passages in the Bible, they hijacked those passages, and they started a church. You know what I mean? John the Baptist, and even in his own verse, he says, I am not the light. He is the light. He's talking about Jesus Christ. So if he's saying himself that he's not the light, how could you make a religion behind someone that is not even claiming to be that light? You know what I'm saying? That's just one religion. To every other Pentecostal, they had a feast. They still have that feast till this day. It's called the Feast of Weeks. The Jews do it. That's what Pentecostal is. That's all it means. It means the Feast of Weeks. So they took the passage Pentecostal and made a church out of it. That's all they do. They steal passages and they make a church out of it. Like, I can go on and on for days, but I will show you with proof. I'll give you 3 quick verses right now that shows you that God never told us to join any religion. All these religions were made by the devil, Satan. Why did he make these religions? Because he wants us to be confused. There's literally one standard. You think God would have 20,000 different standards for us to follow? Oh, we can be a Christian 20 different ways? No. In fact, Christianity, that's not even in the Bible. That was made by man. God never said be in Christianity. No, they were called Christians first at Antioch. Why? Because their conduct were Christ-like. That's it. They weren't called Christian. They never said join a religion called Christianity. No. They were called Christians because they conducted themselves like Jesus Christ. That's it. That's where it stops. And then someone took that verse and they started Christianity. And then Christianity got started 50,000 different ways. But I'm going to give you just a few verses. Let's give you 3 verses that'll show you that God never told us to be in a religion. And he told us what to be. And it's simple. You know, it's not hard. It's plainly there. But then man never... If you go to any church, they'll never read these verses. Why? Because if they read these verses, they'd have to close the doors to their church because it'd be a blasphemy to continue because it dismantles them being in existence to begin with. So the first verse that I want to give you, and you'll never see this in a church because, like I said, it dismantles them being in existence. Our first one, we'll go to Jude 1:20. And you'll notice a theme. So we want to go to Jude. Jude only has one book in it. Jude 1. There's only one book. 120. Let's check it out. And you're going to see a common theme, guys. But ye, beloved, building up yourselves on your most holy faith. What does faith mean? Faith means belief, and holy means the type of belief. If he wanted us to be Baptist or Methodist or Pentecostal or Judas or Muslim or Mormon, insert any religion, he would have said it right here. He would have said, building yourselves up on your most Judaist or Christian faith or Catholicist faith or Pentecostal faith, or insert any religion in front of holy. That's what he would have told us to be if he wanted us to be that. But no, he told us, build yourself on your most holy faith. That's it. He only wants us to be holy. He doesn't want us to be in all these organizations. Organization is ran by man. So building up your most holy faith, praying in the Holy Ghost. Who's the Holy Ghost? Jesus Christ. It says right here, keep yourself in love with God, looking for the mercy of our Lord Jesus unto eternal life. So let's go to the next one. So you guys don't just say, oh, this is only one verse, man. No, this is all over. There's at least 29 different verses that say the same thing in a different way. But I just want to bring just a few because I don't want to take forever doing this. I just want to show you guys that you guys are being lied to. All these religions are just taking your money. They're taking your time, your energy, your attention. They're taking everything from you, and you're getting nothing back. Because it's not like God hears you, because God doesn't listen to that, because that's not God. That's Satan. All these religions aren't God. It's Satan. But he'll trick you to make you think you're following God, but you're not. A lot of these religions, they even have their own Bible. They make up their own Bible. That's blasphemy in itself. Changing even one letter from the Bible is blasphemy. So you're going to tell me, knowing that, you're going to make a whole new Bible? Oh, yeah, then that means you have no fear in God. That's what that means. You have no fear in God for you to change a whole Bible to fit it to what you want it to be so the people follow you the way you want. That means you think you're the God. But the thing is, all these men that founded these religions, they all have passed. And then another man takes over, and then they change it to what they want. So how could that be God if that's true? But the thing is, the Bible that God made, that doesn't change. God's words never change. So, let's see. And the Lord spoke unto Moses, saying, speak unto all the congregation of the children of Israel. That means the world. That's just a sophisticated way of saying unto all the congregation. That means all the congregations of the world. So everyone. And say unto them, ye shall be holy. So he tells us what to be right there. And then he tells us why we should be it. He said, speak unto them, ye shall be holy, for I, the Lord your God, am holy. So he right there, what does God do right there, guys? You see how smart he is? He tells us what he is. He tells us what we should be and why we should be it. So that cuts out every religion in the world. So if God wanted us to be Catholic, why wouldn't he tell us in this verse right here? Say unto them, you shall be Catholic, right? No, he says you shall be holy. So Catholic and holy are two different things. Catholicism, Pentecostal, which is basically Catholicism, it was started in Rome. That's it. It was started by the Catholic Church in Rome. That has nothing to do with God. They did that to raise order after they I don't really want to bring this into it, but they took over a lot of places in Africa, mainly Sudan, and they used that as a way to control the people, and you know what I mean? Which is why we have the hippie-looking Jesus that they use. But God has no color, has no face. God says, make no image of me. So if you're making an image of God, that's blasphemy. He has no image. So that's what I mean. All this is just made up by man. So literally, he literally tells us what to be and why we should be. He says, speak unto them, ye shall be holy. Why? For I, the Lord your God, am holy. That's what he is. Why wouldn't you want to be what God is? God is holy. So why would you be Muslim? Why would you be Catholic? Ask yourself this. Who told you to be that? Like, think about it. Think about it. None of us really think about it. Who told you to be in that religion? Because I remember when I was growing up, unfortunately, I grew up as a Jehovah's Witness. And I never felt right in it. I always felt off and wrong because it's a cult. It's nothing more than a cult. It's a man-made cult made by a man, and you can find all the facts online. And the thing about that religion is they don't want you looking up any outside sources other than the ones they give you. So what does that tell you guys? What do they got to hide? A lot. And nothing they can teach is in the Bible. They also made their own Bible because they can't follow the way of holiness. Since they can't follow the way of holiness, their founder made his own Bible for people to follow in his cult of a way. And that's what all these religions do. It's just the same thing, different face. But that's the thing, though. If you follow the way of God, it's not a cult. It's very simple, and he gives you a choice. He doesn't say you better do this. He says you serve Bel, which is the devil, or you serve me. That's it. He lets you. He basically says you can do that. So basically, if you're in these religions, you're serving Bel, known as Satan. You're not serving God, because God never told us to be in these religions at all. Now I'm going to give you one more. I'm going to show you. Let me show you this, guys. I'm going to show you that the way of holiness was here before the earth was even formed. Can you trace your religion before the earth was even made, guys? I want to ask yourself, can your religion go back before the earth was even made? Ask yourself that while I find this verse for you. I'm going to prove to you that none of these religions were here before the earth was, but there was one thing that was here. So that tells you that God had an idea what he wanted his people to be before he even made the earth. So that shows you God was saying in his mind, I want my people to be holy. Before he even made the earth, before the foundation of the earth was even in his mind, this is what God wanted us to be. And I'm going to prove it to you guys. So we're going to go to Ephesians, I believe, 1. Yep. Ephesians 1:4. This right here proves to you guys that your religions were made by man, because God only wants us to be holy. Nothing more, nothing less. According as to he hath chosen us in him, meaning him is God. So according as he hath chosen us in him, who is God, before the foundation of the world. Get that? Before the foundation of the world, that we should be holy, without blame, before him in love. Don't you see that? Before the foundation of the world. Before the world was formed, guys. He told us that we should be holy. So how could you justify being in a man-made religion? Doesn't that just completely just backfire everything you've ever known? Because when I was finally learned of this verse, this is when everything changed for me. I was like, so if the Bible is telling us that we're supposed to be holy, and my organization is telling me this, who do I believe? Well, the answer is simple. You don't believe a man, because a man is flawed. God created man. Why would you believe man? You believe God. The Bible is God's word. Why would you believe anything outside of the guy? Well, I shouldn't even say the guy, the spirit that created you. How could you? It just doesn't make sense. The spirit, so you mean to tell me the spirit that created you is telling you one thing, but some guy over here who just wants $1 out of you is telling you another, and you're going to believe the guy that wants money out you? God doesn't want your money. He just wants your cooperation and your love. That's it. That's all he wants from you, and your obedience. That's it. The guy over there wants more than that. He wants all those things I said and some. He wants money out you. Soon he'll take your house from you. They'll do whatever they can do until they can't use you anymore and go to the next person. That's what they do. It's just the way. And now I'm going to put the bed. This is going to probably piss some people off, but I don't care, because I'm about telling the truth. And if we're going to talk about God, we're going to talk about the truth of God, not the fairy tales that you were told by your parents or whomever. We are going to speak the truth here. So we're going to put to bed this whole idea that everyone goes to heaven after they die. And we're also going to put to bed that everyone goes to hell after they die, because there's no such thing as heaven or hell at this present point. The book tells us that day of judgment, we will all hear and see a great noise, meaning we're going to see him at the same time, and we're going to hear a great noise at the same time, and we're going to know it's that time. So there's going to be no mistake. So there's no heaven or hell right now. All there is the grave. That's it. Once you die, that's where you go until the worms devour you, and you wait till the day of judgment. That's it. So we're going to prove who are the type of people that God is going to take with him. There's only one type of people God's taking with him, and it's not all of us. We're not all God's people, and that's just what it is. We're just not all God's people. When I was a Jehovah's Witness thinking that, I'm a God-loving man, no, I wasn't. The truth was I was serving something dark, something else. It wasn't God. And that's the thing. God has one standard. And the thing about Satan, he wants us to be confused. He wants us to think all these things that are not true. And that's the thing. So we're going to go Revelation 7:1. No, that's 7:1. No, we did that for something else. We're going to go 26, actually. We're going to go Revelation 20-6. And this will put to bed the whole heaven thing, because that's just the lie that they tell you to give you hope and to keep giving them money. That's it. But we're about the truth here. So it says, blessed, not cursed, not Baptist, right? It says, blessed and holy is he that hath part in the first resurrection. It doesn't get more clearer than that. It says blessed and holy. It doesn't say Baptist. It doesn't say Jehovah's Witness. It doesn't say Hebrews. It doesn't say Pentecostal. It doesn't say blessed and Catholic. It doesn't say blessed and non-denominational. It doesn't say blessed and any religion that you can think of. Mormon, anything, guys. I don't know every religion under the sun. I don't, and I don't care, because they mean nothing to me or God. So you really need to question where you're in and start asking questions and bring these verses to your pastor and see what he says. How could he combat it? I want you guys to bring those verses to him and see how he combats it, and if he can. If he can't, you need to ask yourself, why the hell are you still going there? Because you're just wasting your time and money, because you're not actually learning from God. You're not learning God's way, because if you're in a religion that the Bible doesn't even speak of, how could that have anything to do with God? It doesn't. It's trying to trick you into thinking that, so you get pulled further away from him. The longer you stay in these religions, the longer you stray away from God. But you're fooled into thinking that you're doing a godly thing. That's the thing. That's the thing about Satan. He's the best deceiver. He deceives, and you're being deceived if you go to these religions, man. And I had to learn the hard way. I got shunned from my family, but you know what? It is what it is. There's a Bible verse against that too. I posted that a while ago. It's actually a sin to shun your family members. And they shunned me because I was showing them the truth. And you know what I mean? If that's what they want to do, they can do that. But it's not my whole family, though. It was just the people in my family that were associated with Jehovah's Witnesses, which were probably... I have a big family, so... And my dad, it's not on my dad's side. It's my mom's side. My mom's side, there's probably at least... I'd say about at least 50 of us on that side of the family, and I'd say maybe 15 of them are Jehovah's Witnesses, so I don't have contact with them anymore because that's part of their religion, to shun your family if they bring you any evidence that they're trying to show you the truth. In other words, well, they see it as straying away or being a non-believer, but there's a word for that. I forget the word they call it. An infidel or something. They call it a non-believer or whatever. So they shunned me because I try to show them that they're being taught lies and they're being taken advantage of. God forbid, right? And I try to do this for anyone that's in a religion. And whenever someone like approaches me talking about God, I love to like open their mind to another way, the real way. Because a lot of us are turned away from religion because a lot of it was used to like control us, and like get what they wanted out of us. So how could you love something that does that to you? But that's not the God's way. God doesn't want to control you or hurt you in any way at all. He just wants you to see the better way and try to live that way. And he will reward you for it. That's it, man. So it says, blessed and holy is he that hath part in the first resurrection. So that puts to bed who's going to heaven with God. It's blessed and holy people, not anything else. He tells you, and that's the beauty about God. He tells you his requirements. So it's up to you. If you don't want to listen to it, that's on you. But he literally, that's what makes him so great. He gives you a chance. He tells, it's not blindly like, what do I have to do to get to heaven? I just have to be a good person? Do I have to just, help all the old women and all the old men out there cross the street? Like, what do I have to do to go to heaven? Just be a good person? No. He literally tells you what to do. He tells you step by step how you will make it there with him. And it's that simple. All these religions will never show you these verses because they want it to be up in the air. They don't want you to know. They don't want you to have the answer, because if you did, then you wouldn't need them anymore. They want you to feel like they're needed by you. That's the main thing. Oh, if I keep giving them more money, I'm going to be more blessed. No, it don't work like that. Someone who gives God, and I put in quotations, someone who gives no money at all could be more blessed and holy than someone who gives millions of dollars thinking that does the work for them. No, it doesn't work that way. It doesn't work that way. And I wouldn't want to serve a God that worked in the ways of money. He tells us not to be lovers of money. So that tells you if you love money, that's a sin, guys. So just don't love money. I know we need money. It's not a sin to have money and be rich. It's a sin to love it and live for it, There's only one thing we really should put our whole hearts in. It's the Creator. That's it. Like, you can love someone, but I wouldn't love them with your whole heart. What did they do for you to love them with your whole heart? They weren't the one that put you on this earth and is giving you a chance to go back with him forever. It's just something to think about. And on the second death hath no power, but they shall priests of But they shall be priests of God and of Christ, and shall reign with him 1,000 years. So after that, the second resurrection is where everything else comes, and you do not want to be part of that second resurrection. So that basically, the second resurrection is basically you going to hell. So you don't want to be part of that. So you want to strive to be blessed and holy. I challenge any of you guys to go to any of your pastors with those 4 verses and then make the only choice to be had, because he won't be able to combat what you bring to him. And I bet you he doesn't even know the verses that you bring to him, because what you say to him is, Pastor, if I'm supposed to be a Methodist or a Baptist or whatever religion you're in, why does the Bible say this? Why does the Bible tell me to be holy? If it wanted me to be a Baptist, why didn't it say that here? And then see what he says. Because that's what I did to my pastor, and he had no answers for me. Once I realized that, I left, and I never went back. And then they told my family to shun me after I was able to just school them. So that's what these people do. They're cowards. Once you call them out and you show them that that I know you're lying to me, they shrivel up and they turn into cowards, man. But yeah, I just wanted to leave you guys with that, to show you that these religions are nothing more than a lie, and God has a standard, and it's literally laid out for us. All you got to do is just look. Stop letting people lie to you on the Bible. And if next time someone says to you, oh, it says in the Bible that this, ask them chapter and verse, and find it right now. If they can't show you the chapter and verse, don't believe it. And it has to be out of the King James Bible. Anything other than the King James Bible is just someone's opinion. So you got to challenge these people. The Bible tells you to challenge your pastor, because it's about getting it right, not being right. You want to get the truth right. That's all it's about. Nothing more or less. You want to get it right. And if your pastor tells you, don't question God, tell him, I'm not questioning God, I'm questioning you. That's what you say to him. And that is how you get the truth, guys. Now I want to show you guys, to close this out, that 9/11 was a fuck up. Well, I shouldn't say a fuck up, but 9/11, it was a lie. They blamed it on Osama bin Laden, someone that the U.S. was trying to get rid of for a long time, way before 9/11. They needed a scapegoat. I just need you guys to hear this story, guys. This guy tells the story better than me. He is someone that's been on CNN. He's been on Al Jazeera. He's been on a lot of credible... I wouldn't say CNN's credible, but I'm saying he's been on a lot of other credible sites and sources speaking on this, putting his life on the line, telling us the truth. But 9/11 was right under our nose, and we basically let it go because clearly our politicians, our world leaders are bought off by Israel. And that's why we allow these cruel things, because of their pockets are full of paper. Because they got paper from these world leaders and got bought out in Israel, or from Israel. They're allowing anything to happen. So I don't know how any of you guys can feel safe knowing that because our world leaders in our country take money from other countries, that they'll let anything happen. How could you feel safe knowing that? But listen to this, guys. This guy tells you an earful that a lot of you guys, I bet a lot of you don't know this, but take a listen. Just listen to this. I forget how long. It's a good minute. Listen.
Let's look at 9/11. Before 2000, 1993. So those towers were built with asbestos. Have you heard of asbestos? I think everybody's heard of asbestos, right? Asbestos, if this building had asbestos in it, you know what would have to happen? You'd have to get out. You wouldn't be able to be. They can't build buildings with asbestos, right? Well, by the 90s, it became clear that the asbestos in the trade towers, the Twin Towers, was killing people because they were getting cancers. Of course, all the businesses and the moneyed interest in those buildings did their best to hide it, as they do. But eventually, some suits had come through, and it became clear that the precedent had been set. These buildings had asbestos. The asbestos was getting into the lungs of people. They were developing cancers directly related to the asbestos in the buildings. That was a known fact. Now, the Port Authority of New York, which is Jew-controlled, Manhattan is controlled by the Jews. I'm sorry, all the big real estate, pretty much. Oh, yeah, that's anti-Semitic. Oh, it's true, though. Wait, are you allowed to say true? Anti-Semitic? Oh, for fuck's sake. So, the Port Authority, who owned the Twin Towers, wanted to get out from it. They wanted to sell it. But nobody would buy it. So they tried to release their lawful ownership of it, and they had gone through a 10-year period of lawsuits, or a case, a legal case, to get out from having the liability of these buildings, right? They tried to farm it off. They couldn't do it. And they lost the final case, like, where they're liable now. So, now, the cost to remove the asbestos from the Twin Towers was in the billions. Literally. So, these buildings were actually already half empty come 2000, 2001. There were already Bear Stearns, I think, or I forget, and one of those, they had already moved out because a case had come through, and like, it was the precedent. Like, all the companies that are leasing in that building are now going to be sued from anyone who gets any cancer, which is going to happen because there's a lot of long-term employees in there. So the buildings, again, everything I'm saying here, I can back up. I will destroy anybody who wants to debate me on this. I'll make them look stupid. These buildings were worthless. The cost of removing the asbestos was worth far more than the actual buildings themselves. The Port Authority had lost its long-standing attempt to get out from under the buildings. And we now reach 2001, July, and lo and behold, 2 Jewish billionaires buy these buildings. Most don't know. I don't know any of this. Frank Lowy, Lucky Larry Silverstein. 2 Jewish billionaires. So these are Jewish billionaires. Usually businessmen are kind of savvy about things. Usually if you're looking at a business deal where the Port Authority is trying to get rid of buildings that are full of asbestos because the liability that they would incur from trying to remove that stuff is in the billions, and they haven't been able to get rid of it. They've tried a lawsuit, they've tried a suit to get out, they can't do it, and now that these buildings are truly nothing but billions of debt and liability, 2 Jewish billionaires, Frank Lowy and Larry Silverstein, connected directly to Mossad. What is the motto of Mossad? By way of deception, thou shalt do war. These 2 Jewish billionaires connected directly to the power structure within Israel and Mossad take control of the buildings. Guess what that means? Mossad had full access to the buildings for 2 months previous to 9/11, 2001. Because they just bought the buildings. Now, in that time that they bought the buildings, they doubled the insurance on the buildings. They increased the insurance. So they increased their policy on these worthless buildings. Okay, that's interesting. So these 2 Jewish billionaires just transferred billions of liability into their hands and increased the insurance. On the day, this is fairly well known, but again, people who don't know and don't care about truth and happy fucking go along with whatever they're doing in their lives, there's put options that were predicting the fall of American Airlines stock that we know are connected to the CIA, and we saw on that day everybody was betting on the stock going down. Kind of worked out well there, because when the buildings got hit by planes, the stock of the airline companies went down, and so they made a killing. Larry Silverstein and Frank Lowy, the 2 Jewish billionaires who had control of these buildings, which meant the whole control of the security of the buildings was in the Jewish billionaires' hands. Mossad, we have actual video proof evidence that shows Mossad operatives in the buildings with blasting caps. So they were actually planting some explosives in the buildings, but that's not how they brought the buildings down. This is all fact. On 9/11, we saw 2 aluminum cans run into these steel frame buildings with girders that wouldn't even budge from that aluminum can, known as a plane. And there's so many other things to throw us into smoke and mirrors, but the bottom line is if we just accept planes, there's a lot of stuff to show that it's holograms, but that just makes it harder. Let's just accept that they're fucking planes, alright? So these planes, these aluminum cans, hit buildings that are steel framed, and we see the buildings on fire. Right, first building gets hit, and then the second one. Now, I'm up too in Hawaii. We were all watching this, were we not? We were all watching this, like the moon landing that didn't happen. In fact, when I was being born, they were watching it. I swear to God, my mom was in labor 17 hours. They were watching the fake moon landing while I was being born in the fucking delivery room. So anyway, on 9/11, these buildings get hit, and then we saw the buildings come down. We saw the buildings come down. Now, first off, I know Richard Gage, the head of Architects and Engineers for 9/11 Truth. I also was friends with a dear, lovely man, the chief fire investigator, Rudy Dent, who lost 444 of his brothers. I know both of these men. I have a beautiful relationship with Richard Gage, Architects and Engineers for 9/11 Truth. They all came out and said there was no way that an aluminum can with jet fuel is going to burn the support beams and bring those buildings down. That is not engineering possible at all, period. Rudy Dent, the chief fire investigator who reported on, famously, he paid as well. He died from all the smoke that they inhaled. That's toxic asbestos and all sorts of shit they inhaled. On 9/11, when that happened, when I was watching it, I realized, like, fuck me, man. I have to get out of Dodge. And I told my mom within a day or two, I said, Mom, I can't stay here. I knew I couldn't keep my mouth shut. I knew it was some sort of false flag. And I was right. And within a year, I was on CNN live. There's footage. You can watch my CNN interview. I said live on CNN because it was live. On the Hard Talk interview that I did in 2003, I didn't say it because that's recorded like this. But on the live interview, now I can say it. I said that the United States government was either directly involved or complicit with 9/11. I don't know of anybody who said that. Nobody. If you can find anybody who said it on international news media before me, I'll be shocked. Is it debatable whether two Jewish billionaires bought these worthless asbestos-laden buildings and transferred billions in debt to them or liability to them? That's not debatable. That is not debatable. That's not a very good business decision. But
And my question is, why did they not get fully investigated in? Why didn't they go through all of their phone calls and everything, their emails? Those two guys should have been the main two suspects. Because they got that insurance policy, and then months later the buildings go down and they're able to claim that. After people reported that there were several explosions that happened after the planes hit? That's not jet fuel, guys. Those are bombs. So that means they detonated those buildings in plain sight and didn't care who they killed just so they can get some paper. Literally, that's what they did. Just for some paper. They were able to just kill thousands of people and just get away with it. Why? Because they paid people off. So that just because they gave other people paper to get paper, they're able to just kill people and destroy families at will whenever they want, huh? So we're just little pawns in their scheme that they can just kill us whenever they want just to get a buck. Literally for paper. That's what these people do it for. Paper and control. And they think they're better than us. And yet we keep funding this country, this genocidal country. Literally, they're committing genocide right now, just like literally ethnically cleansing Palestinians right now as we speak. They're killing babies, women, children, bombing hospitals, right? But somehow playing the victim. And they've been attacking us. They attacked our ship when we were cruising by Egypt, right? Israel, they knew it was us. They still attacked us, and we did nothing. Israel does 9/11 and countless other things to us, and we do nothing. We just let it happen. Compliant in it. I just don't get it.
But boy, they did get real lucky, didn't they? And guess who they blamed it on? Who'd they blame 9/11? 19 dudes with fucking box cutters who hijacked planes that brought down 2 buildings, brought down 3 buildings with 2 planes. They say debris from one of the towers hit a corner of the building 7, and that's what brought it down into its own footprint. This is a fucking
Doesn't
joke.
make sense.
Nobody with any kind of critical thinking would buy this, and it's proof positive. I've said this is the litmus test. Not only that it's an inside job, you idiots, but that it was an inside job based on the very, very well-declared principle of by way of deception thou shalt do war, Mossad. Who makes money from war? I said it earlier. The bankers. Who are the bankers? Jews. Who is Mossad? Jews. Who is fucking exterminating my people in Gaza right now? The Jewish state of Israel. Who considers us to be Goyim? The Jews. And the good ones, God bless them. Ilian Pape, the
And the
ethnic
thing
cleansing in
is-
Palestine. God bless you, Ilian.
And the thing
Stanley
is,
Kubrick,
they're
a
doing.
Jew. I love
Hold
him.
on.
I do. The only people arrested on the day were Israelis. The dancing Israelis. You ever hear of that?
No.
Yeah. So there was a woman.
Trying to
Everybody's
pause.
watching, obviously.
So my question is, I lost my train of thought because I was trying to pause it that whole time. So, damn it, I lost my train of thought. It was going to be really good too. I'll try to think of it again.
You know, if you're living in proximity and you can see the Twin Towers, obviously you're watching. How are you not going to watch this? So one person, a lady, who's famously interviewed. They probably killed her. I don't know what happened to her.
Oh yeah, what I was gonna say is
Called the police.
the Jews from Israel, they think that they're God's people because they see Israel show up in the Bible. But the Bible mentions many countries. They mention Iraq, they mention Iran, Sudan, Yemen, Egypt. You know what I'm saying? They don't just only name Israel. Like, and when they speak of it, when the Bible is speaking of Israel, they're not speaking of the country, because when the Bible was finally made, and printed, we know it was before the foundation of the earth. The Bible is God's word. And my point is, there was no Israel. Israel became a state less than 50, 60 years ago. So it wasn't even on the map when they were speaking of Israel. Israel, when they spoke of Israel, they were speaking of a group, a tribe of people. They weren't speaking of a plot of land or that people live on. So these people that live in today's Israel, they think that they're the people of the past. No, you're not. You're not God's people. God's people are holy people. It's not black people. It's not white people, Chinese, Asian, what? No. Holy people. It doesn't matter. God says from the ends of the earth. And that's another thing. God said the ends of the earth. So if there's an end of the earth, that means the world is not a ball. That means there's an end to the earth if God says the ends of the earth. So there's another clue that the world isn't shaped like a ball, because there's an end to the earth, because God said so. I believe what God says over a man any day, because a man is trying to convince you of something. And whenever someone is trying to convince you of something, the opposite is usually true. So just so many questions you got to ask yourself. But yeah, the Bible is not speaking of Israel today at all. The people of Israel today have nothing to do with holy people and God at all. In fact, the Zionists have nothing at all to do with holiness and God. They think that Jesus Christ is burning in excrement, guys. They hate Jesus Christ and Mary. How is that anything to do with God? That's hatred. Hatred is Satan. So in other words, Zionists are Satanists. They're not godly people. God has no place for them at all. All those people, all those Zionists are going to burn in hell when hell is formed. They're not going to, honestly, what verse would they justify themselves with all the carnage they've done to people? All the bodies they've killed. What verse would they use to justify themselves? Because there is no verse. Because they're not living holy. Holy people don't murder people, and they don't commit genocide. They don't steal. They don't bribe. They don't commit famine, raping people. They don't do these stuff or any of this stuff, all these sins. How could you think you're God's people and you're just sinning all the time and you have all this hate in your heart? And I know you guys are thinking, oh, what do you have against Israel? But no, the thing is, they are taught to think this way. All the kids are brought up this way, to hate Palestinians and hate everyone, to think they're better than everyone. They're literally brought up this way. They're brainwashed. I need you guys to get onto TikTok and go onto these platforms where Palestinians speak to Zionists, and you'll see the hatred is real. Zionists just hate everyone. They don't, not even they hate Palestinians, but they hate everyone but Zionists. They literally believe that they're the only ones made for this earth. It's literally insane. They're all insane. They're psychopaths. And if God wanted us to be Zionists, he would have said so.
She saw a group of men with binoculars filming and celebrating, which didn't make sense. Why would somebody... So she called the police. She thought this was suspicious. These are what's known as the dancing Israelis. I believe,
and they didn't get arrested ultimately into custody. They got let go.
They later they were arrested, but they were then released. Quietly deported. But they weren't
quietly deported that day, because they had something to do with that.
An interview in Tel Aviv. It's on. People can go look, Google it.
Yeah, the interview's still there.
And they said on live television in Tel Aviv, Israel, that they were sent to film the event. That's what they're... And that they are Mossad. They pose as art students. This is part of their MO. So they're art students.
See, they're posing.
Actually Mossad. They infiltrate. So anyway, They
So
said
what does that tell you?
This is not my opinion. This is what they said. They had foreknowledge, and they were sent there to film the event, and that's why they were celebrating.
So they were sent there to film the event, guys. So that means they knew it was going to happen. So if they knew it was going to happen and they came from Israel, how would they know that, guys? That means it was arranged in Israel, guys. And we let it happen. We probably saw the radar, right? We saw the planes coming on the radar, and we just acted like we didn't see them because we had orders by Israel. Because Israel probably paid off everyone, gave people hundreds and millions of dollars to shut their mouths and turn their heads the other way, right? And we'll never find this money trail because the people that are in charge of finding these money trails were paid off too. You see the cycle? So we'll never get to the bottom of this because there's so much money thrown around at so many people that can be implicated that if they got caught, they'd get thrown in jail forever anyway for treason. Letting another country, conspiring with another country to let the towers get hit, that's treason. And among other things, war crimes, right? But we'll never get the money trail and the truth because too many people are implicated and paid off. That's what you guys don't understand. We live in a messed up world. And that's why it's best to just be holy, man. Do your best to be holy because you don't want to get caught up in this. And all of a sudden, before you know it, you're Zionist. Like, that's just one example. Obviously, it's a little extreme, but my point is, if you don't have God in your life, the true one and only God in your life, how could you be living right? How? And after this, I'm going to close out. After he's done, I'm going to close off with one more verse to show you the Trinity thing was a lie. Well, we know Catholicism is a lie. So if Catholicism is a lie, then the Trinity is a lie. And I'm going to show you why it's a lie. They try to make our God look schizophrenic, but really our God has 3 functions with one name. And I'm going to show you what I mean. But let's finish this off. If it lets me. Sometimes it takes a minute to replay, even on pressing play. All right.
So that's one of them. There was also other Israelis that were arrested. They were in a big truck that had been reported as suspicious. It was pulled over by the police. They inspected the vehicle, which was heading towards the George Washington Bridge. And lo and behold, it was full of explosives. And guess who the driver and the occupants of that vehicle were?
Israelis?
Yes, they were Israelis. They were also arrested. They were questioned and they failed lie detector tests. But we had a Jewish Secretary of Defense.
Of course we did.
Oh my God, what's his name? Oh my God. It was a Jew in the executive branch who quietly deported the Israelis with explosives, the Israelis who were caught dancing, and failed lie detector tests.
So we got them out of there, and then they blamed Osama.
Sent them home, nice and quiet like. Fox News actually did a story. Funny enough, Fox News. They did a really great story about this. And it only got told once, and they shut it down. But that is out there. The only people, and it exposed not only these ones that were arrested, but the biggest spy ring in U.S. history, Israelis. This was on Fox. They had proof. Like, this wasn't their opinion. These are all facts. Is that anti-Semitic? Oh yeah, the truth's anti-Semitic. The truth is truly anti-Semitic. You're not allowed to say these things. And only a crazy bastard like me will say these types of things. But it's true. And as I said earlier, truth is God and God is truth.
What about Bin Laden, who was doing the videos in a so-called cave? Obviously, we've seen people now with the orange jumpsuits pretending to be beheaded. We've got the green screen as if they're in the desert and it causes chaos and fear. But what about the Bin Laden thing with the videos and he was involved and...
Bin Laden was a lie, bro.
What's the truth behind that?
Bin Laden was the scapegoat.
The same thing as the 19 hijackers. They're CIA assets, and they get paid. They, in this case, remember Oswald, the one who supposedly killed Kennedy? What did he say before he got shot by a Jew in the gut and didn't get to testify? I'm a patsy. He said he was a patsy he was a patsy. There's no way from the angle. I mean, anybody who does any analysis of the assassination of JFK, there's no way that Oswald could have done that. No way. Absolutely not. There's multiple shots anyway. So anyway, these idiots, they get paid by the CIA to like fly here, fly there, stay here. Muhammad Atta, the chief, hijacker, Muhammad Atta, was hanging out in Florida at a flight school where even the flight school instructor said those guys couldn't even fly a Cessna. Literally. Was going out with a stripper and snorting cocaine. Does that sound like somebody who's on a jihad? No, it sounds like a fucking patsy, an idiot who works for the CIA, who gets money to go snort coke, have sex with strippers, and be on this plane at this time and go over here and stay in that hotel and leave your passport here. It is ridiculous, man. It is absolutely ridiculous. And it just shows, like, how fucking stupid are we seriously going to get? I mean, this has been happening over and over. So, you know, the planes, look, the Pentagon, I know enough about that too. All of the tapes surrounding the Pentagon, they were all taken away, and apparently, and they even acknowledge in the official bullshit 9/11 Commission report, which is just beyond a fucking snow job and ridiculous. The tapes were lost. Right, and that hole that plane was supposed to. You are truly having a laugh, mate. You're having a laugh, mate. Sure, right? That's a good one, mate. I like that one. There was no fucking plane there. That was a missile for sure. If we're going to get into what hit the buildings, nothing hit the third building. That was clearly a controlled demolition. Again, Rudy Dent, chief fire investigator on the day, he heard all of the explosions, as did many others. That's not debatable. It's been thoroughly reported, although not repeated. And people to this day, including all the politicians, I don't know any politician who would suggest that anything other than these 19 hijackers, chief among them, Atta, snorting coke, fucking strippers, were on a jihad and overpowered the entire might of the military industrial complex and took out 3 buildings with 2 planes with box cutters and their passports conveniently. Oh my God, dude, you are having a laugh. It's 2 Jewish billionaires with Mossad that blamed it on Muslims so that we could carry out the global spectrum dominance agenda laid out by the Project for a New American Century, and it's all there.
How do you think the Americans would react if they had all this information, that innocent people were jumping out the building and dying all through this, and then invading other countries because you think it's the right thing to do, because your country's in threat? How do you think the Americans would stand if they knew?
There's a man named Alan Zabrowski. He is a professor at the Army War College at West Point. He is top level, security level U.S. military. His credentials are undeniable. You can look online and you could find Alan Zabrowski. God bless you, Alan. He literally has said on record 100% what I'm saying. Israel did this, and he's talked to like Pentagon officials and like, if you want to destroy your political career, then you will open your mouth about this. If you want to destroy your political career, then you'll say the word genocide, even though it's bloody obvious. If you want to destroy your access to money, then you go ahead and speak like I'm speaking right now. Alan Zabrowski said, when the American people, to answer your question, when they find out, they're gonna be coming for the Jews' blood. They're gonna fucking destroy Israel.
That's not true.
Question is, are they ever gonna figure it out? And
it's right in front of their faces. They don't want to do
I'm
anything
not
because
even
they
calling for
can't.
that. I'm not like I want lawful prosecutions. If you committed war crimes and genocide and treason,
All right.
that's a hangable offense right there.
We'll end it right
That's enough
there.
for me. I don't need no extrajudicial. I'm not going to lower myself.
We'll end it right there. But yeah, we already know Israel did it, and we do nothing about it. What we do is we blame it on other countries, and now what does that do? That brings another country in, and now we have conflict with other countries, and that's what Israel wants. They want us in huge wars. They want us fighting their wars. They want the world to end because they think they're God's people. They think that once we speed up the process and destroy this planet, we can all go to our, respective place in heaven. That's what they believe, and it's literally sick. It makes me sick to my stomach. But anyway, we're going to close this out with one last verse, and it's going to put to bed this. We already put to bed that religions are a lie. Like, I literally systematically destroyed that, and I'll destroy any pastor that you want to bring to me. I'll destroy him with the Bible. I'll do a drive-by shooting with the Bible. Pop, 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 hit him with scripture. Anybody, I'll challenge anybody that says anything, and I will find scripture to answer your question, because I'm a learneth man, and I got God on my side. And anything that comes out of me is not even me. Like, it's God speaking through me, guys. Like, honestly, I'm able to find these verses through God. I don't even know how I'm doing this, but I think Matthew 28:17. I think that's the verse that's shining in my head. I could be wrong though, but I trust God. He'll bring me to the right verse. Matthew 28:17. I think it's this one. Yeah, it is. And when they saw him, well, before I say this, I want you guys to see something. One man can have 3 different titles, right? So I have parents, right? I become a son, right? I get siblings, right? I become a brother, right? I get married, I become a husband. Me and my wife, we have kids, I become father, right? But the thing is, when someone calls out to me, they're not going to be like, hey, brother, hey, father, hey, son, hey, husband. No, they're not going to be like, hey, husband, come here. A random person is not going to call me husband. A person I work with is not going to call me husband. No, they're going to call me by my name. They're going to be like, hey, Quinn, come here. They're not going to call me husband. So the best way to say this, and when they saw him, they worshipped him, but some doubted. And Jesus came and spoke unto them, saying, all the power is given unto me in heaven and in earth. Go ye therefore and teach all the nations, baptizing them in the name of the Father and the Son and the Holy Ghost. So you got to baptize them in the name of those things. And what is the name of those things? Jesus is a Father, Jesus was the Son, and Jesus is the Holy Ghost. That's it. And Catholicism, Catholics always completely butcher this. It's not, God is not 3 different people. So when the big God is coming to do his resurrection, what are the 2 little guys doing? You know what I'm saying? It doesn't make sense. There's one God. And there's many verses where God says, I am one and there is no God with me. So for them to say that we have a schizophrenic God is just blasphemy. No, he has 3 titles. But he's much more than just the Son, Father, and Holy Ghost. Those are the titles that you would baptize him in the name of. But God has many titles. He's a redeemer. He says he wounds, he kills, he heals. You know what I mean? God is he's everything. God is literally the wind when the wind blows. He's literally everything. He's the sky. He's the ocean. He's the air. He is everything. That's why he's everywhere. So, teaching them to observe all things whatsoever I have commanded you, and lo, I am with you always, even unto the end of the world. Get it? Unto the end of the world, guys. Amen. So in other words, there is an end of the world. So if there's an end of the world, that means the world is not a circle. Because if the world was a circle, there'd be no end to it. You understand, guys? So we just knocked down right there. We just knocked down the world being a round ball again. And I didn't even mean to. If God is saying even unto the end of the world, that means there's an end to the world, guys. Next time I'll show you the verse where God says, my children's from north, south, east, and the ends of the earth. If there's an end of the earth, that means there's an edge, right? So there goes the whole theory of this circle being earth, guys. So we put all that to bed pretty easily. Our God is not three. He just has three titles that you have to be baptized in the name of. Just like I can be a father, I can be a son, I can be a husband. You know what I mean? It's just three titles for one man. In this case, one spirit. Three titles. That's it, guys. We're going to end it right there. And next time, let's see what we talk about. Whatever I feel like talking about, we're going to talk about. But thanks for watching. Thanks for joining me. And join me next time, guys. Stay safe.